Welcome to the Gnostic Hub. I'm your host, Elizabeth. It is an honor to have you with us once again in this marvelous journey as we seek answers to the most basic questions that have troubled men throughout history. Our goal is to provide you with guidance in helping you achieve a fulfilled, holistic lifestyle. Today's topic is relearning how to listen. In the world, there are many wonderful speakers that amaze the masses with their speeches and eloquence. However, few are those who know how to truly listen to them. Truly knowing how to listen is something very difficult. The truth is, not many people know how to listen. When a speaker is giving his or her speech, the audience seems to be alert and following every single one of their words. They even seem to understand everything the speaker is saying as they listen. Little do they know that deep in their psychological state, in each one of the audience members, there is a secretary who is translating the words of the speaker, every single one of them. The role of the secretary is to misinterpret or misconstrue the words of the lecturer. That secretary lives in our minds and translates everything it hears according, of course, to its prejudices, preconceptions, biases, prejudgments, fears, prides, anxieties, etc. This is what occurs to us when we are, for example, in school, at work, or in any situation where we are the audience. As an example, the students at a school or the people that form the audience, in reality, they are not listening to the speaker. They are actually listening to themselves. They are listening to their own ego, their beloved and deceitful ego, which is not likely to accept the truth or the facts of what is being said. No, no, no. He will listen to what he has to say, to what he has interpreted from the speaker's own words. When we are in a state of truthful awareness and think with an spontaneous mind, when we remove the weight of the past and in keeping ourselves in a state of complete receptiveness, only then we can really listen without the interference of that bad secretary, also known as the ego. When the mind is conditioned by the memory, all it does is repeat what it has stored in it. The mind conditioned by the experience of so many yesterdays can only see the present through the dirty glass of the past. That is the reason why we are always thinking and living in the past. How many times, as you are having a conversation with someone else, have you thought or heard someone say phrases like, "When I was your age, when I was in school, when I had money, when I got married," etc.? Some people are so attached to their past that they get stuck in it. And they go as far as to live in a certain period of their life. They do that by wearing the same style of clothes that they think makes them look young, or by wearing a certain style of haircut that does not go with their age. Sometimes engaging in behaviors that can even be dangerous to their health. But such behaviors allows them to relive the memories of a time long gone, but that reassures them of what their insecure reality brings. If we want to learn how to listen in order to discover something new, we must live according to the philosophy of the moment. It is urgent to learn how to live in the moment without the worries of the past and without the projections of the future. Besides relearning how to listen, there's one more task that we must learn, and we must learn about truth. What is truth? Truth is the unknown from one moment to the next. Our minds always need to be on alert, in full attention, without prejudice, no preconceptions, no biases, or prejudgment, in order to truly be receptive. Many are those who have a hard time accepting new theories, nor do they admit the possibility or any mystic or intangible forces. This happens due to their own self-esteem because they love themselves too much, because sometimes they are conformed with their own theories and have a hard time accepting any new reality. They feel as if they were bottled up in their own self-esteem, and they only listen to their own ego. So first of all, it is necessary for us to learn how to listen, yes, but we also need to learn how to listen the truth. Finding people that know how to listen, it is very rare. Whenever we observe that somebody is listening, in reality, he is just hearing, not listening, because his ego is already translating the words into his own language, into his own particular idiosyncrasy, and to his own benefit. So, first of all, before we can even begin to think that when someone is talking to us, we are actually listening, we need to rethink that, because before we can consider ourselves actually listening, we must have an awakened consciousness. Because if we think about it, how could somebody who doesn't have the ability to even listen to someone else can start to listen to his or her own conscience and be able to listen psychologically? It is an impossible task. In order to know how to listen, it is necessary to be present, to be living in the moment. We already discussed in our previous video of transforming negative emotions how to live in the moment. So I ask you, and I will ask myself, What are you thinking about at this very moment? Are you, the audience, truly listening to what I'm talking about? Or were you distracted by other thoughts? Instead of listening to the substance of this speech, were you thinking about something else? Are you at this very moment walking around your house mentally, in the kitchen, the living room, the backyard, the garage? Are you daydreaming about different scenes that have nothing to do with this class? Are you thinking about work? Maybe about an errand that you need to run right after this video concludes. Are you being distracted by the background music and instead are imagining being in a meadow or at the top of a mountain or in some other place? Then let me ask you, as I was asking you, where your mind was and was giving you all the different options. Was I able to distract you? Did I take your attention away to your kitchen, to your garage, to the mountain? Did I take you away from where you are right now? Are you listening to the contents of my words? Only you can answer this truly. But our goal is to be honest with ourselves so we can start this arduous task of learning how to re-listen. When we are in a meeting or in any event where we are the audience, most of the times we will see people sitting down and they seem to be listening. However, how can that be even possible when 95% of the time we are being pulled away by other thoughts? Sadly, I have to say that we can hear, but we cannot listen. Normally, when we are speaking to anyone about Gnosis or the Gnostic teachings, the students most of the time seem to be listening. But unfortunately, they are not. They are escaping. They are walking from here to there, from there to here, or they are traveling in their inner psychological city, their own psychological amusement park. Let us remember that within each one of us, there is a psychological country. The physical place where we are right here, right now, is one. And the psychological place where we travel with our mind, that's a whole nother one. So, where are we at this moment? Could you say, I am here? Maybe, or maybe not. The truth is that it is hard to know how to listen, because normally the person who is listening escapes, travels through his or her psychological country, and runs away in different directions. So basically, the person is in a way symbolically not at home. And if he or she is not at home, who is the one listening? Aha! That, my dear friends, is the key to discovering who is listening. Shall we say that who is listening is our human personality? Shall we say that is the soul? Truthfully and sadly, the human personality does not know how to listen. The physical body is just a mere instrument, a vehicle, as we have previously said. A vehicle that is manipulated by, you guessed it, by that intruder known as the ego, the one that stays at home when we travel to our psychological country. Now we are going to discuss the symbolism of the birth of Christ. It is amazing how there are some people that are somewhat stubborn and they don't want to listen to anything that has to do with a spiritual improvement. They even don't have a tiny space, a small corner for anything that resembles a spiritual enrichment. They are full of vanities. They tell themselves, I know too much to believe in this mumbo jumbo. I have this many degrees. I'm an intellectual. They are full, unfortunately, of their own theories. Therefore, there is no room for any sacred knowledge to be assimilated. Sadly enough, they are too full of themselves. So let us remember the story of the birth of Jesus. Due to the census called by Herod, Jesus' parents, Mary and Joseph, had to flee Bethlehem. And as they arrived in Nazareth, they were not able to find suitable accommodations. There was no room in any of the inns, hotels, or guest houses in the city. There was no suitable space for his birth. In our inner hotel, there is no room for a spiritual birth either. The hotel is full. That's why our Lord Jesus was born in a barn among the animals. That is some serious symbolism the sacred book of the Bible gives us. It shows us how we have no clean room for our own Christ to be born. And therefore, he has to be born amongst the animals. Clear representation of all of our negative traits. Amongst our bad habits, he has to be born. Amongst our bad behaviors, amongst our psychological defects, otherwise known as our ego. This is very sad. We have no clean room for our own Christ to be born. We also have heard another story about Siddhartha Gautama, also known as the Buddha. You know that the Buddha used to walk around with a pot in his hand. The pot was usually in the upward position so that he could receive the food that, everybody would give him for free. It is necessary for us to always stay in a receptive state, we have been saying, right? To keep our pot upwards, just like Buddha did. always waiting for that nourishment. Because if the pot is turned upside down, how could the nourishment get to us? How can we receive it? So, if we are always full of pride, raging anger, always criticizing others, if we never see the good in other people and are always trying to hurt them because we don't want to accept anything other than our own theory, well, if that is us, for sure, we will never be in the correct state of mind to receive any type of spiritual knowledge. We are never going to have room for our own Christ to be born. And if we don't recognize our own misery, our inner poverty, we are never going to be able to receive the nourishment of wisdom. And besides, it is not possible to receive that nourishment if we don't know how to listen. So finally, the most important point that we must address about learning how to listen is knowing that the mind is always trying to tempt us. Let us remember the passage of the Bible of the temptation of Jesus. When the devil said to him, "All these things I will give unto thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me." Clear example of temptation. So why did Jesus not fall into temptation? Well, because he was always alert, always vigilant, as the watchman in times of war. He had his bowl upwards. However, if he would have fallen into temptation, that is to say, if he would have had his bowl downwards, then he would have only heard the external words, the things that come from the outside. He would not have been able to listen consciously, therefore falling into temptation. So, my dear friends, we have to become more receptive, more aware of our words. We have to learn how to listen with our conscience, meaning we need to learn how to listen psychologically. We need to be alert because how could it be possible to listen if we are not in the house, like we said before? If we are the ones that are not in, then we could say that we are just unconscious people. So let me ask you one more time. Are you sure that you are listening right now? Can you assure me that you are? Could you guarantee that you are totally here in the moment? Are you sure that your mind is not wandering? The root reality is that when people are listening, or better yet, when people are hearing other people, they are not listening because they are always wandering. They are out for a walk, they're walking the dog, they're shopping online, they are not home. With this, we have come to the end of this class. And I want to leave you with two very important items for this week. Gnostic studies are very important. First, we need to remember to observe and remember ourselves. That is to say, to remember our inner being by living in the moment. The second one is we need to learn how to keep our body in a state of relaxation. Being aware of oneself and keeping our bodies relaxed are two things that we need to do constantly. We need to remember that the body, the nervous system, the muscles are always in tension. So it is necessary to learn to remember how to relax the body. We need to do this all day, every day. It is essential to keeping ourselves conscious in order to learn how to listen. This week's exercise will be to remind yourself at least 3 times a day if you are listening. Whenever someone is talking to you, or even if you're just watching the news or watching a movie, remind yourself to listen to the message behind the words, the essence of the message. Are you hearing it or are you listening? Also, don't forget to keep yourself relaxed. Don't let anyone or anything take control of your emotions or thoughts. That is the only way to keep control of your mind and body. With that, we conclude this week's video. But make sure to come back next week when we will be discussing another amazing topic to help you reach that end goal of creating a greater holistic lifestyle. Well, thank you for joining us, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to Gnostic Hub for weekly updates. So let it be written, so let it be done. See you all in the next video.